Underdog has released more details about Best Ball Mania 4. So I'll actually go full screen with that here. This is the prize pool breakdown. We've got it's kind of split, and it's caused a lot of discussion in the community today, but we've got 10 million in playoff prizes, 5 million for the regular season, so kind of a 66-33 split there. You see on the regular season prizes, it goes to the top 10,000, which sounds like a lot, but in reality, that's only the top 1.5% of regular season scorers. And then, that has a pretty big impact on how much money can go to the playoff teams. So the overall advancement structure hasn't changed too much. The contest is going to be almost 200,000 entries larger than it was for Best Ball Mania 3. But the final round is actually going to be smaller. And that's because, as I highlighted here, the second round is tougher to get out of with Best Ball Mania 4. You got to be first out of 16 instead of first out of 10. And overall, I don't have any issues with the changes to the playoff structure. I think having groups of 16 is fine. I was worried that it was going to be something tougher, like 1 out of 20 or something larger than that. But I think sort of my key concern this year is, I've got on the bottom there, if you were to max enter, which is 150 entries, in Best Ball Mania 3, your odds of reaching the final would have been, a little over 15%. In Best Ball Mania 4, that's down below 10%. And the reason that's a problem is because the payouts between the finals in Best Ball Mania 4 and Best Ball Mania 3 have really not changed aside from first place. So Best Ball Mania 4, first place gets $3 million, but then if you look at third place, 300,000, not only is that a really steep drop off from first, but that's actually less than what third place would have gotten in Best Ball Mania 3. So you have lower odds of reaching the finals and lower odds of getting a good pay.
Olave really flashed at the beginning of the year, just kind of throughout the year. He was just a good receiver across the board. So I think Derek Carr will help him a lot.
I'm going to gush on Olave here. I took him in both of my early drafts. Got some tidbits here. He had a 23% target share and ranked top 10 in yards per out run. He was in line with guys like Diggs, Adams, and Amon-Ra in yards per out run. Among rookies with 50 targets, his yards per route run, and this is historically ranked only behind OBJ, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. And now he's getting a quarterback upgrade with Derek Carr. So I am all in on Olave, assuming he stays, early to mid third. I would much rather, at cost, have Olave than Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Sean Payton gives me more confidence in the run game, but not necessarily Russ.
Yeah, well, the problem with that is they got, Javonte probably won't be there to start the year, so that sucks a lot. We saw Pirine in Cincy when he had the chance, like I said, put up crazy, crazy numbers. So I think Pirine's kind of one of those guys that's going to, at the beginning of the year, light the world on fire, but he'll spin off by the time it matters.
Yeah, that's what surprised me is, some people in the best ball space have been like very, very pro Samaje Perine. And like, I get it. I'm more worried about Javonte than the market is right now. Mm-hmm. But like you said, I still think Javonte is going to be back at some point. So you're going to get 14 games out of Perine. He's going to have a high advance rate. And then you're going to show up with a bunch of other teams in the playoffs with Perine when he's not playing. And they're all just going to get wiped off the map.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what's going to happen. If I was to pick one player from Denver, though, like Jerry Jeudy this year, with how the things look towards the end of the year with Russ and him, there is something there. Russ would actually make throws to him. I don't know. It just looked, there was something there to me, just like the eyeball test that really checked out.
Here at tight end, I actually have some takes on Tyler Higbee.
Yeah.
I was overweight on him last year, which was for the most part a disappointing experience, but he did pop a little bit in the playoff weeks, so maybe that's why I'm not totally sour on him. but I went back and looked. He had more, and obviously Hawkinson wasn't great while he was with the Lions, so that impacts this a little bit. But Higbee had more 10-plus point games last year than Hawkinson, and Higbee was 10th in yards per route run at the tight end position. And Hawkinson is going, or not Hawkinson, Higbee is going as tight end 18 right now.
Yeah, that's not a bad guy to grab at the end there.
Yeah.
He could be the 2. I mean, there's with how many screenplays they ran last year with him.
Yeah.
It's not impossible.
I'll need to go back and look and see what his numbers were like the year that Kupp really went off. I mean, maybe he wasn't as involved that year when Stafford was healthy, but
right. Yeah, well, we can see it wouldn't be bad to see what kind of correlation.
So I'm going to lay out some numbers here for the Bucks because I am very concerned for them this year. So these are from Rich Hrybar at Sharp Football. Last year, their offensive line ranked 25th in pass block, 31st in run blocking. Brady had the fastest time in the league as far as getting the ball out of the pocket. It was rarely over 4 seconds. Baker ranked much slower and was over 4 seconds almost 20% of the time. And then just going into the running back room a little bit, Rachaad White, out of 44 qualifying running backs, he ranked 38th in yards per carry, 33rd in EPA per rush, 42nd in 10-yard runs, and 43rd in yards after contact.
And Fournette must have been right in front of him.
Yeah, this is not good.
Yeah, honestly, there is not much good that's coming out of Tampa this year, especially if they don't address anything with their offensive line. Because after hearing that, I mean, there's no arguing that it's as hot garbage gets.
I've been thinking through it, and I think I want to be targeting the Ravens, Lamar, right away when Best Ball Mania 4 opens. And just like one thing I didn't do last year was really like think about Best Ball from a whole summer portfolio perspective. Mm-hmm. I was kind of just focused on like each individual, puppy contest or like each draft room for ADP value. But I'm trying to think more about how these lines are going to change for ADP over the summer. And I just think that like I'd rather take the shots on Lamar now with the risk that he doesn't play and that those stacks get lit on fire than wait until he shoots back up. And like, plus the longer this goes on, like, yeah, his ADP is going to go lower, but also the risk of him sitting out gets higher with each passing day. So,
right. Yeah. And I don't say you're probably not going to get Lamar at any cheaper right now than you will, unless he declares that they're done, like he's not playing the season, trade's not happening. Realistically, yeah. I think worst case scenario, this is just my opinion, I think he plays on the franchise tag even if they don't get the deal done. I don't remember what the number is, but I think it's like just north of 40 million or something like that for a franchise tag. So, I mean, he's going to get paid a pretty hefty amount just to play 1 year.
Yeah, so it's hard to pass up on that kind of money. And he is a huge discount right now. He's going as QB7, one spot ahead of Trevor Lawrence, but he's behind Herbert and Burrow, and then Justin Fields is going as QB4. And like,
that's wild.
If you knew that Lamar was playing 17 games, I think you're probably drafting him either in line with or ahead of Fields.
Yeah, I was gonna say definitely top 5, bare minimum.
Obviously, Fields scrambles a lot, but like another thing that you could make an argument for in favor of these wide receivers is the running back room that they have right now does not catch passes. Like I know Travis Homer is a pass catching back, but he's the clear third back in this group. Like Khalil Herbert and Donta Foreman do not catch passes.
I really want to be in on Foreman being the guy, just seeing how well he ran last year in Carolina, with Carolina being awful. And also, if you look at this, basically the Bears just took whatever players they wanted from Carolina, it seems like.
Yeah.
But it really, really seems like he still has the juice in him. Even after the Achilles and everything else, it seems like he has juice. And I don't know, we've seen that Khalil Herbert has a bunch of juice too. So it's interesting to me that I really feel like one of these guys is going to end up being the main back, and the other guy is just going to, come in, and you're going to have a guy that's between the 20s and a guy that's going to score all the touchdowns. I feel like it's going to be very, very similar to like a Lions situation last year, where you have one of the two guys that just scores 15 touchdowns.
I loved Herbert last year. I had a lot of them, and I almost feel like this is the best case scenario for him, because bringing in Foreman is going to keep his price down, but it's not like a Bijan or a Zach Charbonnet who could potentially block him completely out of the backfield. So Herbert's going RB 34, Foreman RB 43, and I think I'm fine taking shots on both of them at those prices.
Yeah, I would say, like I said, one of them is going to pay off. I'm basically probably on take turns drafting which one, when it comes to it. But I feel like there is going to be a lot of initial interest in those two players for me.
For Amon-Ra, it definitely looks like wheels up, but I think the Jameson suspension is actually bad news for us, just because now his price is going to get out of control.
Yeah,
people are going to steam him up. He was top 10 in yards per out run last year, had almost a 25% target share. And I don't have an exact number, but as someone who had him on his fantasy team last year, he went down inside the 5-yard line a ton. Mm-hmm. So I think he's well on his way to another top 10 season.
Yeah, and a lot of upside. If he doesn't fall and falls 5 yards forward, scores a lot more points.
Yeah. And on the flip side, I think Jameson Williams was going like late 5th, early 6th round in the early drafts, and that was too expensive for me.
Yeah,
I think so. If he falls a round or two because of the suspension, that makes him more appealing in my mind.
Definitely. We definitely need to touch on the running backs here just a little bit. I like David Montgomery a lot in this offense, solely for the fact that if he just does what Jamal Williams did, the points are endless for that. Montgomery's a better running back. He's younger, stronger. I just think it's there for him, for the taking. I don't think Swift's worth anything at this point anymore.
I'm with you 100%. We convince ourselves every year to be in on Swift because of the explosiveness and the pass catching, and it's just been very evident this coaching staff does not see him the same way the fantasy community does. So I did not have much Montgomery last year. He's more of a chunk play guy than the true explosiveness, but he's on a team now with an elite offensive line and probably going to be the clear one in this offense. Overall, I truly like taking shots on both of them, though, just because like we were talking about with Washington, if one goes down, the other in theory looks like they're in a good spot.